This is Eli Moran, broadcasting live from an undisclosed high-rise studio here in downtown Los Angeles. It's 4:57 p.m. on the 12th of July, 2095, and in just 3 minutes, the first ever nationwide suspension of law enforcement, medical, and emergency services in U.S. history goes into effect. For the next 24 hours, beginning at 5 p.m., all crimes are legal. There will be no police response, no ambulances, no fire crews. If you haven't secured shelter yet, you are already behind. I'm staying on the air as long as I can. I'm not going to name my station, but you can call me Eli. I've been doing this job for 20 years, and I've seen riots, wildfires, earthquakes, and lockdowns. None of that compares to what's about to happen. This isn't one city. It's the entire country. If you're tuning in for the first time tonight, here's what's happening. 5 years ago, the federal government began working on what they now call the National Liberation Initiative, a program meant to reset the balance of civil order. That's the official language. Behind closed doors, this is something else entirely. Violent crime rates have skyrocketed since the mid-2080s. Prison populations tripled in a decade. Private detention contracts collapsed under the weight of overcrowding and riots. Executions became common again after 2071, but even that wasn't enough. The government claims this purge is a pressure valve, a way to allow people to vent once a year. But from the data I've seen on the secure feeds, tonight is more like an experiment. It's 5:00 p.m. The sirens are beginning now. I can hear them even up here, echoing across the city, bouncing off the glass towers, and emptying freeways. I'm pulling up a live drone feed of the 110 freeway near the downtown interchange. The traffic is gone. For the first time in my life, Los Angeles looks like a dead city. I want you to listen carefully because these next few minutes matter. If you're inside, you stay inside. Lock your doors. Black out your windows. If you stocked water and food, check your supplies now. If you didn't, don't go out looking for any. Stores are shutting down or being stripped clean as we speak. My live feeds from Santa Monica, Westwood, and Long Beach are showing boarded storefronts and barricaded gas stations. Private security checkpoints are going up near Beverly Hills and Brentwood. It's clear where people with money decided to draw their lines tonight. I've been watching federal announcements all day, and something's off. They're telling us there will be minimal disruption, but I've seen the emergency traffic channels. The LAPD has withdrawn completely to perimeter stations. No units are on the streets. County fire is offline. Paramedics are locked down at secure points, and even those have limited guards. Downtown hospitals like County USC and Good Samaritan are operating skeleton crews behind locked wards. Anything outside those secured wings is dark and unstaffed. If you get hurt tonight, there's no one coming for you. All right, pulling up my national surveillance cluster now. For those of you new to this frequency, I've got access to a back-end package that tracks over 800 live municipal and federal cameras across the country. Right now, I'm watching Times Square in New York. It's nearly empty except for small roving groups carrying long guns, pushing handcarts full of stolen supplies. It's surreal to see neon billboards flashing above abandoned streets. I'm switching to Chicago, South Side, 79th Street. I've got 20 armed bodies gathering around a barricade made from burned-out cars. They've got vehicles lined bumper to bumper and look like they're preparing to hold their ground. Across Houston, several live feeds just went offline at once. That's not a random blackout. That's coordinated. Reports on the restricted DHS channel suggest portions of the Texas grid have been manually cut to create dark zones. If that's true, and I trust the source I pulled it from, there are going to be entire areas tonight where power and communications are intentionally disabled. If you're anywhere south of Buffalo Bayou, you need to leave now or hunker down deep. All right, we're 9 minutes into the purge. Feeds are starting to light up faster than I can track them. Phoenix, Dallas, Atlanta, Miami. Multiple carjackings already reported, but there's no response. Seattle just confirmed 3 house fires breaking out simultaneously across Westlake. The fire suppression bots are offline, meaning those buildings will burn uncontrolled until morning. To my listeners sheltering tonight, I want you to understand something. The test is not just about what we'll do to each other. It's about what happens when the entire safety net disappears. No emergency lines. No quick rescues. No one to enforce boundaries but yourself. If you thought you could call someone for help tonight, you can't. The 911 system is offline nationwide. I tested it myself an hour ago, and the trunk lines are hard-locked. You're on your own. I've just received an encrypted push from one of my network contacts in Sacramento. I can't confirm this yet, but it claims 5 major prisons in California alone have had their outer gates unlocked remotely. The theory is simple. Release high-risk inmates into the wild, and track their behavioral patterns under full legal immunity. If that's true, we're not just dealing with desperate civilians tonight. We're looking at armed, trained convicts hitting the streets. I'm switching to a Southern California feed. Huntington Park, near Florence Avenue. A camera is showing 30-plus masked individuals stacking crates at an intersection. I can see long barrels under their jackets. I'm muting the feed, but they've built roadblocks and are checking cars. These aren't amateurs. Somebody organized this ahead of time. If you're south of downtown LA, avoid all surface roads. It's now 5:23 p.m., less than half an hour since the purge began, and I have 34 confirmed structure fires in Los Angeles County alone. Most are concentrated along the I-10 corridor and south of Century Boulevard. One of my drone feeds just picked up running gun battles through the Pico Union District, less than 3 miles from here. I can't confirm fatalities, but from the flashes I'm seeing, the hardware in use isn't civilian grade. These are suppressed rifles, precision optics, military rigs. Whoever's out there came prepared. I've got a patch line open for listener calls, but only through analog shortwave tonight. We're keeping names off air for security. First caller, you're live. Go ahead. This is Glendale. We've got trucks moving up Brand Boulevard. I counted at least 15 of them. 2 armored. No plates, no markings. They're stopping in front of apartments and pulling people out. I ask, is anyone resisting? I ask, no. They're just gone. Doors kicked. No sirens. Nothing. I locked the stairwell. If they hit our floor, I don't know what we'll do. I tell him to stay quiet, barricade if possible, and keep his lights off. He thanks me and drops the line. It's going to be a long night. If you're just tuning in, this is Eli Moran broadcasting live as the first ever nationwide suspension of law and emergency protection continues. From where I'm sitting, 35 stories up above Figueroa Street, I can see plumes of smoke rising over Boyle Heights, Koreatown, and East LA. The skyline looks like a scar, orange flares cutting against black glass. This is only the beginning. We've got 23 more hours to go. Stay inside. Stay quiet. Stay alive. This is Eli Moran, still with you from the high-rise downtown studio, and it's now 2 p.m. on July 12th, 2095. We are 1 hour into the first authorized nationwide suspension of law enforcement and emergency services. If you've been listening since the start, you already know the stakes. If you're just joining, listen closely. I'm going to keep reporting as long as the power holds and these secure feeds stay live. I've seen what's happening across the country, and you need to hear it. I want to start by giving you a better picture of Los Angeles, because this city is shifting fast. At street level, it looks quiet from up here, 35 floors above Figueroa Street, But the drone feeds tell a different story. Downtown corridors like 7th and Spring are showing improvised barricades already under attack by armed groups. Around the Arts District, I'm seeing fires being set deliberately. Not looting, not random chaos, but targeted arsons. These aren't amateurs. They're cutting power junctions, removing cameras, working in tight formations. I've also intercepted something unusual. One of my secure channels lit up 10 minutes ago with what looks like an internal Department of Homeland Security memo. I can't fully verify it yet, but the header matches a code I've seen on official releases before. It lists tiered containment protocols for Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, and New York City. That language suggests there are designated zones where federal forces have been told to stand down entirely to observe public behavior without interference. If you're inside one of those zones tonight, you're effectively off the map. All right, switching to New York City now. I've got a cluster of 6 live feeds along Manhattan's Lower East Side. Ludlow Street is burning. 5 separate structure fires visible from my aerial cams. And residents are hauling mattresses and furniture into stairwells to block doors. Police precincts like the 7th and 9th have been completely abandoned. At Delancey and Essex, I'm seeing groups in full tactical gear moving building to building with breaching tools. No markings, no badges, no identifying features. Whoever they are, they came prepared for this. Chicago next, pulling up the south side near Englewood. Earlier, I saw organized gangs fortifying that area, and now the fight's begun. There are at least 3 armored pickup trucks on Halsted firing suppressed rounds into residential complexes. Streetlights are down, power's gone in a 2-mile stretch, and civilians are running blind through the dark. I'm tracking heat signatures from a thermal drone, and I count at least 50 unmarked individuals moving in coordinated patterns through alleys. This isn't random looting. It looks like open territorial warfare. Now back to Southern California. I've been watching live traffic analysis for the I-5, and we've got gridlock at the Santa Clarita interchange. Thousands of vehicles jammed bumper to bumper, many abandoned completely. A listener just sent encrypted dashcam footage from that area. It shows at least 20 masked riders on dirt bikes weaving between cars, using chains and blunt objects to pull people out of vehicles. If you're anywhere north of the San Fernando Valley, get off the interstate now. Do not try to pass through. Find shelter nearby. I want to pause here for a moment because some of you are probably wondering why I'm not naming the station or how I have access to these feeds. I won't name the network, but I'll say this. There are private backbones built into every metropolitan area in the country, networks that were supposed to be for disaster response and continuity of government protocols. I'm using one of those tonight. That's how I'm getting security footage, encrypted federal memos, and unfiltered police band audio before it gets wiped. It also means if these connections go down, we're flying blind together. I'm watching a situation develop in Dallas right now. I've got 4 separate municipal feeds, and they all just cut simultaneously around Elm Street and Griffin. Switching to a drone I borrowed from a private security node downtown, and I'm seeing a large organized convoy moving east toward Deep Ellum. We're talking multiple armored SUVs, personnel carriers, rooftop gunners. I don't have IDs on any of them, but the chatter on the encrypted channel suggests they're not local law enforcement. There's no uniforms, no state markings, no plates. Whoever they are, they came equipped like contractors or private military. Let's take a listener call. Remember, we're using analog shortwave tonight, so there's about a 1-second delay. Caller, you're live. Eli, this is Renee. I'm up in Bakersfield. We just lost power across the entire block. Some guys showed up in a black pickup, started cutting streetlights and cameras, then vanished. I'm seeing groups on foot, maybe 15 or 20, moving house to house. No one's answering 911. I ask if she has a safe place to shelter, and she says, I'm in my attic with my kids. We've got food, but the neighbors are panicking. People are shouting about heading toward the highway. I tell her to stay put, reinforce access points, and avoid drawing attention. Heading for the highway right now is the worst thing you can do. She thanks me, voice shaking, and signs off. Let's check Houston. The feeds near Buffalo Bayou just came back online. I'm seeing controlled burns in several residential blocks. 2 gangs are fighting openly in the street, but that's not what worries me. I've got confirmation that parts of Houston's grid were intentionally disabled by municipal control overrides. That means this blackout wasn't caused by rioters or fires. It was planned. These dark zones are going to be hunting grounds tonight. Avoid them entirely if you can. Switching to Miami now. Footage from the Brickell Financial District shows dozens of small boats docking along the canals. Crews unloading weapons and supplies directly into high-rises. I counted at least 7 rooftop snipers, setting up thermal scopes. Eastbound streets are jammed, and at least one coastal bridge has been blocked using overturned buses. If you're in Miami, avoid the waterfront completely. Back here in LA, we've just had our first confirmed high-rise fire. A drone above Wilshire and Flower is showing flames pouring from the top 15 floors of a residential tower. Sprinkler systems aren't responding, and LA Fire is offline for the night. That tower's going to burn straight through, unless residents find a way to fight it themselves. I can see smoke from here, even through my studio windows. It's now 6:48 p.m., less than 2 hours into the Purge. If you think tonight's going to quiet down, you're wrong. From the data I'm watching, activity is escalating, not slowing. We're seeing deliberate infrastructure sabotage, targeted strikes on power grids, and coordinated armed movements across at least 8 major cities. For those still thinking this is just uncontrolled chaos, you need to understand, a lot of this was planned. This is Eli Moran, still broadcasting from downtown Los Angeles. It's now 7:31 p.m. on July 12th, 2095. We're 2.5 hours into the first authorized nationwide suspension of emergency services, and Los Angeles County has reached a full flashpoint. I've been monitoring live surveillance feeds, shortwave channels, and encrypted DHS intercepts for the last 30 minutes. And I can confirm something I was worried about earlier. Certain parts of the city are under deliberate containment protocols. I want to be careful here, but you need to hear this. I've accessed a packet from the Department of Homeland Security's Continuity Operations Group. It lists 25 U.S. cities marked as Tier 1 Behavioral Study Zones. Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Miami, Houston, Atlanta, and Phoenix are all on the list. According to these documents, federal forces have been instructed to hold back, even when violence escalates, so they can observe unassisted civilian response patterns. That's the language they're using. If you're hearing this, and you're inside LA County right now, understand what this means. No one is coming. The National Guard isn't deploying here. The LAPD has withdrawn to perimeter lockdown zones, and even automated drone response units have been geofenced out of critical neighborhoods. What's happening tonight in Los Angeles is being allowed to happen. We are, for lack of a better word, part of an experiment. Let's go to the feeds. I've got a drone cluster above Boyle Heights. 3 separate streets are blocked by improvised barricades, and I'm seeing rooftop lookouts armed with scoped rifles. These aren't random civilians defending their homes. They've got frequency jammers set up on the intersections, which means they're intercepting comms and keeping themselves off official scanners. Across the river in Lincoln Heights, the streets are pitch black. Grid power cut less than an hour ago, possibly deliberate, and groups are moving door to door with flash suppressors attached to rifles. I count at least 4 separate groups converging. I've also got reports coming in from listeners near Long Beach. Shipping containers at the port have been cracked open, and heavy freight trucks are hauling something inland. I've pulled up a long-range camera from the Vincent Thomas Bridge, and I can see 5 convoys heading north on Terminal Island Freeway. Each one has armored vehicles running point and tail. If you're anywhere near San Pedro or Wilmington, stay away from the port area completely. There's something large-scale moving out of there tonight, and no one's stopping it. Switching now to Atlanta. Surveillance drones over Peachtree Street are showing burned-out MARTA buses blocking key intersections. Residential towers near the old 4th Ward are being evacuated by force. Masked units, dragging people out. No markings, no ID. I've tapped into a local radio repeater there, and emergency calls are going unanswered. There's even chatter that Grady Memorial Hospital has locked its gates and abandoned 3 entire wings. If you're in Atlanta tonight, keep moving. Stay away from central arteries, and do not rely on hospitals for refuge. All right, back here in Los Angeles, I've got something urgent. There's a live heat map tracking fires in real time across the city, and Wilshire Boulevard just lit up in 3 separate places simultaneously. That's not random arson. I've switched one of my drone feeds to the intersection near Vermont Avenue. A tactical unit is moving through with suppressed carbines, stacking formation, cutting locks, and clearing storefronts systematically. These aren't civilians panicking. This is trained movement. The question is who they work for, because I can confirm they're not LAPD. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're live. Eli, it's Mateo. I'm in Highland Park. They just took the entire block. Trucks pulled up. Men in gray gear. Visors down. No markings. They're knocking on every door, dragging people out if they resist. I asked him how many. I counted 12 at first, but more came after. They had something flying overhead, some kind of drone. Everyone's hiding in basements, but we can hear boots on the pavement. They're not talking, just scanning houses. I think they're mapping us. I tell him to cut power to his house, avoid any active wireless signals, and stay below ground if possible. He agrees, whispers something to someone nearby, and ends the call. If you're in Highland Park or Eagle Rock, shut down your lights and block any infrared leaks. I'm monitoring military-grade drones operating above that corridor. Whatever's happening there is coordinated. That's the second unmarked strike team reported in under an hour within Los Angeles County. Looking at national feeds again, New Orleans just went dark. Every single street cam, every traffic light, every bridge feed along the Mississippi has been killed simultaneously. My secure intercepts show the blackout was triggered by municipal override codes coming directly from Baton Rouge, meaning this wasn't random. If you're anywhere near St. Charles Avenue or the French Quarter, you're on your own. That city has officially gone off the grid. I've been keeping an eye on Phoenix too. I've got visuals on the I-10, and a 30-vehicle convoy just rolled past Sky Harbor Airport heading east. Civilian reports say they're heavily armed and intercepting cars that try to bypass them. What's strange is that their vehicles are running heat signatures, consistent with military-grade hybrid engines. They didn't just throw this together tonight. These convoys have been prepping for weeks. If you're in Maricopa County, avoid all highways tonight. Back to Los Angeles, and things are deteriorating fast near Echo Park. I've got an aerial drone over the Glendale Boulevard corridor, and it's chaos. Multiple apartment complexes are burning, and civilians are moving toward the reservoir, thinking they'll be safe in the open. Problem is, I'm seeing 2 armed groups closing in from opposite sides, cutting off escape routes. If you're near Echo Park tonight, stay off ground level completely. Secure rooftops, if you can. I'm picking up more encrypted chatter from DHS intercepts. It looks like several level 4 containment zones have been activated across the West Coast. That means designated sectors where all emergency services are permanently suspended for the remainder of the purge, regardless of casualty counts. I've got the list in front of me right now, and Los Angeles has 3: Downtown Core, South Central, and the Port Authority District. If you're inside those lines, there is no help coming under any circumstances. Another call coming through. Caller, you're on. Eli, this is Travis. I'm in Westwood, near UCLA. The dorms are locked down, but people are panicking inside. Someone got into the med labs. They've been distributing stolen sedatives to keep people calm. Now we're hearing footsteps outside. At least 30 people moving fast, trying to force the glass doors. I ask if they've barricaded entrances. We did, but we're running out of furniture. Some of the students left, trying to make it to Wilshire, and none of them came back. If you've got eyes on this area, tell us where to go. I pull up a drone feed above UCLA and confirm it. At least 20 unknown individuals breaching stairwells at the south end of campus. I direct him toward a maintenance tunnel beneath the athletic complex. It looks untouched for now. Travis thanks me and signs off immediately. It's now 8:15 p.m., just past sunset in Los Angeles. Downtown is dark, except for the glow of fires on the horizon. From where I'm sitting, I can see smoke stacking against the skyline. Nationally, we're looking at escalating chaos in at least 18 cities. This isn't random panic anymore. Organized groups are moving in ways I've never seen before. I'll keep watching the feeds, pulling calls, and intercepting what I can. Stay quiet, stay hidden, stay alive. This is Eli Moran, broadcasting live from downtown Los Angeles. It's now 9:04 p.m. on July 12th, 2095. 4 hours into the Purge, and we've crossed another threshold tonight. It isn't just the United States anymore. What's happening here is radiating far beyond our borders. I've spent the last half hour pulling feeds from international networks and encrypted wire traffic, and the response from the rest of the world is divided, chaotic, and loud. Let's start with the United Nations. About 30 minutes ago, the Security Council issued an emergency advisory condemning the United States for what they're calling state-sanctioned destabilization. The vote was 11-4, but even inside the council, there's disagreement on whether to intervene or simply observe. No one's committing forces yet, but several member states have begun quietly recalling embassy staff from Washington, New York, and San Francisco. The international optics are bad, and everyone knows it. The U.S. government hasn't responded to the resolution, and I doubt they will tonight. 1-0. Across Europe, the tone is shifting fast. The UK, France, and Germany issued coordinated travel advisories, telling citizens to avoid U.S. soil entirely until further notice. But here's the contradiction. Heathrow, Charles de Gaulle, and Frankfurt airports have all reported record-breaking traffic heading into the United States over the past 72 hours. I've got TSA manifests showing that nearly 70,000 foreign nationals entered the U.S. since July 9th. They weren't here for sightseeing. They came to take part. I'm pulling up a live feed from Los Angeles International Airport right now. Every terminal is at capacity. Security checkpoints were abandoned just before the purge began, and crowds flooded into the concourses. Hundreds of inbound passengers are dragging tactical cases off planes, bypassing customs completely. I've got infrared drone views over Tom Bradley International Terminal showing the parking structures jammed with unmarked vans and private shuttles picking up incoming groups. These aren't stranded tourists. These are organized arrivals. It turns out the Purge became an international event weeks before it officially began. The Department of Commerce quietly deregulated foreign firearm purchases in mid-June, and the result has been staggering. Between June 15th and July 10th, over 3.2 million firearms were sold to non-residents inside the United States. TSA flagged hundreds of incidents involving bulk ammunition shipments, but nothing was stopped. Gun shops from Miami to Seattle have been stripped to bare shelves. National chain outlets like Bass Pro, Cabela's, and Academy reported running out of inventory 2 weeks ago. Independent stores were cleaned out in days. It didn't stop at retail. I've accessed a secured ATF report that was never released publicly. It details systematic warehouse break-ins across at least 7 states, where entire stockpiles of rifles, ammunition, and tactical gear were stolen in coordinated sweeps. No arrests, no follow-ups. From what I'm piecing together, either security responses were deliberately delayed or intentionally redirected elsewhere. By the time the purge started, the country was saturated with weapons and no tracking mechanisms in place. Globally, the media narrative is fracturing. In Tokyo, NHK is broadcasting wall-to-wall coverage, showing streets in Los Angeles and Chicago burning, framing the purge as proof that the United States has lost control of civil order. In contrast, in Moscow and Beijing, state networks are presenting the purge as a calculated government maneuver, implying that the U.S. is stress-testing urban population control methods. Some governments are even hinting at adopting their own domestic reset initiatives based on how this test plays out tonight. I want to give you a clearer picture of what's happening on the ground near U.S. airports tonight because the footage is staggering. JFK in New York, Hartsfield in Atlanta, O'Hare in Chicago, LAX here in Los Angeles. All of them are flooded, but not with stranded travelers. They're staging grounds. I've got a secure drone above O'Hare right now. Over 200 rental vans are parked along West Higgins Road, their trunks open, unloading rifles, armored plates, and thermal scopes directly into waiting groups. There are people here from Germany, Brazil, Canada, Australia, South Africa. The purge isn't just an American event anymore. This explains something I couldn't figure out earlier. When I was reviewing national surveillance logs this morning, I noticed a pattern. A surge of passenger flights into the U.S., without corresponding departures. At first, I thought it was evacuation avoidance. But it wasn't. This was inbound traffic. Deliberate and timed. Groups are flying into purge-designated cities to participate directly in the sanctioned killings, knowing there will be no legal repercussions. Federal agencies didn't just anticipate it, they cleared the path for it. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're on. Eli, this is Jared. I'm at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas. The terminals are packed with people dragging cases and duffels. I heard German, Russian, and Spanish in the same 20 feet of hallway. They're renting trucks in bulk outside the rideshare pickup. I don't know who's coordinating it, but it looks planned. I ask if there's any law enforcement presence. No. 0. TSA left at 5. Nobody's checking bags. Nobody's checking IDs. People are pulling rifles out right there on the curb. I tell him to leave the airport immediately, find cover, and avoid open roads. He agrees and drops the line. Here in Los Angeles, the effects are visible already. I've got 4 drone feeds covering the 405 interchange near Sepulveda Boulevard. Congestion is locked solid, and most of the vehicles aren't local plates. Florida, Ohio, Arizona, Canada, dozens of out-of-state convoys merging directly into the metro area. Tactical gear, rooftop racks, infrared optics. Whatever you're picturing, multiply it. Los Angeles isn't just experiencing its own purge tonight. It's a staging ground for international conflict, layered on top of a domestic experiment. I want to address something else now, the black market escalation. Over the past month, encrypted communication logs show spikes in high-value auction trades. Military drones, armored vehicles, suppressed rifles, even jamming equipment, NIS, all circulating on darknet hubs and delivered through drop points disguised as freight forwarders. Most of this gear bypassed customs entirely. The infrastructure for tonight wasn't built overnight. It was seeded deliberately, piece by piece, until it reached critical mass. International stock markets are reacting in real time. Futures trading on major indexes is collapsing. The Nikkei suspended activity 30 minutes ago. The Euro Stoxx index has already lost 7% overnight, and Wall Street has effectively shut down all transactions until July 14th. Central banks in Brazil, India, and South Korea are moving emergency reserves into offshore accounts to insulate their markets from what's coming. Economists are calling this the first coordinated decoupling of global trade in nearly 80 years. Let's circle back to Los Angeles for a moment, because the situation here is shifting quickly. I've got live security feeds at Van Nuys Airport, and it's a battlefield. Charter planes are landing non-stop, private helicopters ferrying small strike groups toward downtown staging zones. 2 hangars have been fully converted into weapons depots, guarded by contractors with no visible insignia. If you're near Van Nuys, stay away entirely. That sector's effectively gone hot. It's 9:52 p.m. now, 4 hours and 50 minutes into the purge. Fires are spreading across at least 13 districts of Los Angeles. 2 entire power subgrids are offline, possibly permanently. Nationally, at least 12 major airports have effectively lost civilian oversight and become operational hubs for incoming participants. And internationally, the world is split between condemnation and fascination. Billions are watching, tens of thousands are joining, and millions more are wondering if this model will leave U.S. borders when tonight is over. This is Eli Moran, still broadcasting live from my high-rise studio in downtown Los Angeles. It's now 10:36 p.m. on July 12th, 2095, nearly 6 hours into the purge, and the situation across the country is spiraling beyond anything I expected when I went on the air tonight. If you've been following from the start, you know Los Angeles has been chaotic since the opening sirens. But it's not just here anymore. The real story now is nationwide. I've pulled up secure intercepts and a fresh batch of camera feeds from the municipal surveillance grid. Let's start with Chicago. The South Side is a complete lockdown zone. I've got aerial drone images over Englewood, showing 30 or more improvised barricades built from burned-out cars and shipping containers. What started earlier as turf conflict has evolved into something more deliberate. Entire residential blocks are fortified and operating as micro-fiefdoms, using rooftop snipers and controlled choke points. Meanwhile, Navy Pier and the Magnificent Mile are fully abandoned, and I'm watching infrared signatures showing hundreds of small groups moving south toward unlit zones. The power grid failure there isn't accidental. ComEd took 2 substations offline under direct order, forcing entire neighborhoods into darkness. Now New York City. The Lower East Side, which I reported on earlier, is collapsing fast. At least 12 high-rises went dark after Con Edison cut power manually, and groups in full tactical gear are clearing buildings one stairwell at a time. Uptown near Harlem, surveillance feeds show roving bands with suppressed rifles, clearing out brownstones and marking buildings with thermal tags for later return sweeps. There's something else happening near the Hudson. A private encrypted channel I've been monitoring shows multiple boats ferrying gear between New Jersey and Manhattan under active drone escort. These aren't civilians improvising. This is planned supply chain activity. Miami next. Brickell Avenue and Biscayne Boulevard look like a war zone from the feeds I'm watching. Thermal drones show boats stacked 2 and 3 deep along the canals, unloading gear from unmarked containers. Earlier, I mentioned rooftop snipers. They're now actively firing on streets below, creating kill zones designed to control movement. I'm also hearing chatter on the restricted DHS frequency, confirming that several coastal evacuation centers were deliberately sealed, locking civilians inside, under the pretext of temporary safety. If you're anywhere in Miami-Dade County tonight, do not attempt to reach the waterfront. That area is already under competing control. Switching to Dallas. 2 municipal feeds in Deep Ellum have gone completely black, but the drones I've hacked into still show activity there. A convoy of at least 15 armored vehicles rolled in from I-30 heading towards central Dallas, and every single vehicle had thermal blocking panels installed. That's not hobbyist-level preparation. That's industrial logistics. Outside Love Field Airport, private planes are offloading crates, and ground teams are distributing gear directly into rented SUVs. I have no confirmation on who's funding this, but it's coordinated. Atlanta is another hotspot tonight. Surveillance along Peachtree Street shows what looks like open combat between two competing factions. One uniformed, one civilian. Both sides are using encrypted radio traffic, and neither matches local police frequencies. Further south, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport has lost central control entirely. Charter planes are landing without clearance, and entire hangars have been converted into temporary armories. Groups are picking up packages prepositioned weeks ago, suggesting tonight was planned on multiple levels long before the official Purge announcement. I want to emphasize this. What we're seeing nationwide isn't random chaos. Yes, there are opportunistic acts, looting, revenge killings, personal vendettas, but layered beneath that, there's clear orchestration. Power grids are being deliberately cut, airports converted into staging zones, and surveillance blind spots created systematically. This is happening simultaneously in Los Angeles, New York, Dallas, Miami, Phoenix, and Atlanta. That level of synchronization doesn't happen by chance. And while I'm tracking all of this, something new just happened on my end. About 12 minutes ago, I started receiving direct text pushes to the studio's secure terminal. These aren't coming from my network or any known source. They're routed through an encrypted backbone that bypasses normal firewalls. The first message read, "You're showing too much. Stop broadcasting classified feeds." Then, 2 minutes later, "This is your final warning, Eli." I've been doing this a long time, but I'll admit it. I've never had a threat come directly through a secure line before. Whoever sent that knows exactly where I am. I muted my camera feeds for a moment and checked the system logs. The origin is masked through at least 3 relay nodes, but the routing hints at federal infrastructure, either DHS, NSA, or someone using their frameworks. That means at least one government-aligned actor is actively monitoring this broadcast in real time. I don't know how long I'll stay safe up here. If they triangulate this location, this studio isn't defensible. Let me give you a sense of what's happening closer to home. Downtown Los Angeles has entered a full tactical collapse. The feeds from Figueroa, Flower, and Grand Show groups converging on intersections, cutting off escape routes entirely. The 110 freeway ramps are barricaded by parked semi-trailers, and I'm watching drones running coordinated sweeps above the Staples Center corridor. On one feed, I counted at least 20 armed individuals stacking bodies across an entire alleyway to create a blockade. South of here, near Florence Avenue, I can see thermal readings showing 70-plus unmarked individuals moving toward the USC campus. Taking another shortwave call now. Caller, you're live. Eli, this is Mason. I'm in Koreatown, near 7th Street. There's an unmarked drone hovering above the intersection. We thought it was LAPD, but it's not responding to our pings. Just now, 3 SUVs rolled up, no plates, all blacked out windows. They're dragging people from the street. I think they're sweeping for something, not random civilians. I ask if they're armed. Yes. Military rifles. Suppressors. They're not yelling, just pointing. Someone upstairs turned on a light, and the whole SUV crew aimed at the window immediately. We killed our power. We're hiding in a stairwell now. I tell him to stay dark, avoid windows, and cut all wireless devices to minimize detection. He thanks me quietly and drops off the line. All right, let's step back and look at a broader map of the United States right now. My secure data shows at least 22 major cities experiencing escalating armed conflict zones, with Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Chicago, and Dallas topping the list. Portland has lost municipal control entirely. Drones over Burnside Bridge show fires spanning multiple blocks, with ground convoys bypassing barricades without resistance. In Denver, coordinated attacks on substations forced entire downtown corridors offline within an hour. Even Salt Lake City, which was considered low risk, is reporting armed incursions along the I-15 corridor. And for anyone tuning in internationally, understand this. You're seeing curated feeds on foreign networks. What I'm watching through these direct intercepts is far worse than what's being broadcast abroad. These aren't just angry mobs. These are coordinated movements by heavily armed groups, many with outside funding, moving with precision across a country where law enforcement has been told to stand down. It's not just chaos anymore. It's a controlled burn. It's now 11:28 p.m. here in Los Angeles. 6.5 hours into the Purge. I'm receiving more encrypted warnings while trying to stay live, and I don't know how long I have before this broadcast goes dark. From where I sit, looking out across the skyline, I see at least 10 separate fires, multiple drones circling low, and movement on rooftops just 3 blocks away. If they've found me, I won't have much time to relocate. This is Eli Moran, broadcasting live from downtown Los Angeles. It's 12:17 a.m., July 13th, 2095. We've crossed into the 7th hour of the first nationwide purge, and I need everyone listening to pay attention. Over the past 90 minutes, multiple eyewitness accounts and camera feeds have confirmed the same disturbing pattern. Groups in black, unmarked uniforms are moving through high-density neighborhoods, firing indiscriminately. These aren't looters or local gangs. They're coordinated teams. The footage I've intercepted shows clean formations, precision strikes, and weapons I've never seen in civilian circulation. I've been running audio enhancement on one clip from Chicago. A security camera mounted above 79th Street. AMA. And you can hear suppressed bursts at regular intervals, almost mechanical. At least 9 individuals move across an intersection, faces covered, rifles up, clearing buildings one room at a time. Infrared overlays confirm they're wearing active heat-dampening panels, which means they're invisible to most commercial drone tracking. I want to play an eyewitness recording now. This came in from a listener in Queens about 20 minutes ago. They're wearing black helmets. No markings, no names. They came out of 3 trucks, lined us up against the wall, and started firing. People dropped around me. I crawled under a car and stayed there until they left. They didn't say a word the whole time. When I checked the timestamp against surveillance footage from the same block, it matched exactly. I watched the video myself. Thermal drones above Jackson Avenue showing heat signatures of 19 civilians clustered against a building before they go cold in under 30 seconds. This wasn't chaos. It was an execution sweep. Reports like this are coming in from multiple cities: Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, and here in Los Angeles. I've got a live drone above Boyle Heights right now, zooming in on a burned-out intersection where at least 5 bodies are lying under an overpass. Less than a block away, 3 figures in black uniforms are moving silently down the street. Each one has mounted optics on their helmets, and no visible ID. One carries a weapon I can't identify. Not a rifle, not a shotgun, but a compact launcher connected to a hip-mounted canister. Seconds later, the feed cuts as the drone signal is jammed. This matches chatter I've intercepted from encrypted DHS channels. I'm reading fragments right now, and I need you to understand what I'm seeing. Project Resolution Unit. 4. Control sweep zones at 50% saturation. Another line. Crowd pacification platforms to engage at field discretion. That term, crowd pacification, lines up with reports from Seattle, where civilians are describing pulsing sound weapons being deployed from armored carriers. Eyewitnesses there claim entire blocks collapsed in silence after a single activation. We've got no confirmation, but I believe tonight is doubling as a live weapons test under the cover of the Purge. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're on. Eli, I'm on the edge of Portland, near Burnside Bridge. There's a convoy moving east. 5 black trucks. No lights. Everyone inside is geared head to toe in black. We thought they were rescuers at first, but they opened fire the second we waved. I saw at least 8 people hit in seconds. I ask if there's anywhere safe nearby. They're pushing us into the river. I've got maybe a dozen of us hiding under the bridge, but the trucks are circling back. I tell him to move west, avoid open streets, and keep his group completely dark. He hesitates, then signs off without another word. I need you to understand how widespread this is becoming. In Philadelphia, live footage shows black uniformed units entering 2 public housing towers near West Kensington. 30 seconds later, every camera in the block went dark, and there's a heavy data spike suggesting electronic suppression. In Dallas, witnesses at Trinity Groves reported seeing unfamiliar rifles emitting short bursts of light, followed immediately by civilians collapsing without obvious trauma. Medical observers monitoring biometric telemetry believe these could be directed energy prototypes designed to neutralize without visible wounds. Whatever's being tested tonight, it's not being disclosed publicly. Here in Los Angeles, I'm tracking one of these black unit sweeps right now. My drones are over East Hollywood, near Santa Monica Boulevard and Vermont Avenue. 3 teams, 10 operators each, moving block by block. Civilians are scattering between alleys, but every time someone runs, the operators fire in tight bursts and drop them instantly. There's no hesitation, no warnings. Infrared shows additional support overhead. Small quad drones flying in tight coordination with the teams below, marking thermal signatures on rooftops and inside apartments. I've also received multiple reports from verified sources that these teams are deploying what sound like new crowd control weapons. Some describe rapid onset disorientation waves, causing entire groups to collapse and lose motor control before operators move in. A hospital worker in Seattle sent me encrypted footage of a block downtown where civilians are stumbling in unison, dropping phones, clutching their ears, and going motionless on the pavement. No shots fired, just silence after the pulses. And I need to talk about something else. About 40 minutes ago, I received another threatening message on my secure terminal. No return address, no authentication tags. It read, "Terminate broadcast or unit deployment is authorized." That's all it said. Since then, 2 surveillance drones have begun circling my building, staying just outside effective jamming range. I'm watching their telemetry feeds right now. They're not LAPD, and they're not part of any known private security vendor. If they're watching me, it means someone doesn't want this information out. Taking another call before we lose time. Caller, you're live. Eli, this is David from Houston. They're testing something here, man. I swear it's not normal. There's this black Humvee parked outside my street, and they fired this canister into a crowd. No explosion, no gas. But everyone within 30 feet just collapsed. No screaming, no twitching, just dropped like the lights went out. I asked him if anyone recovered afterward. No. I checked 2 of them, breathing shallow, but they're out cold. And now there's a drone overhead mapping the street. I'm staying under my crawl space until morning. I tell him to stay put, keep silent, and leave any devices offline until the sweep moves on. I've spent years covering disasters, riots, and state emergencies, but tonight feels different. From what I'm seeing, there are 2 layers to this purge. On the surface, there's civilian chaos. Gangs, looters, vigilantes, and opportunists. But beneath that, there's a deeper operation. Coordinated sweeps, unmarked tactical teams, and experimental weapons deployed live in U.S. cities. Some feeds show test data uploading in real time to secured servers routed through defense contractors. That doesn't happen accidentally. This was planned. It's now 1:03 a.m. in Los Angeles. 7 hours into the purge, and entire neighborhoods here are unrecognizable. Fires to the south, drones above downtown, and unknown operators clearing streets around Wilshire. From my studio window, I can see moving lights 3 blocks away, tight formations, cutting across rooftops with precision. If they've started sweeping this sector, I may have to shut down and relocate. I'll keep the mics hot as long as I can. This is Eli Moran, still broadcasting live from downtown Los Angeles. It's 1:54 a.m., July 13th, 2095. We are nearly 9 hours into the first nationwide purge, and I've uncovered something you need to hear. Over the past hour, I've been intercepting encrypted traffic routed through Department of Defense servers. It confirms what many of us suspected earlier. Tonight isn't just about unregulated violence. It's a data collection operation at a national scale. I've accessed packets showing real-time telemetry from over 20 major cities. The information being uploaded isn't just incident counts or property damage reports. It's granular. They're tracking heat signatures, biometric changes, flight patterns of civilians, and even device-to-device communication frequencies. Thousands of active mobile handsets are being used to generate behavioral heat maps, showing where people cluster, where they scatter, and which escape routes fail. I can see Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York glowing red on the dashboards. One of the flagged lines in these intercepts references something called Phase 2 stress integration. From context, it looks like tonight's purge is acting as a live testing environment for new riot suppression technologies. In Seattle, I've got confirmed reports of directed energy dispersal units mounted on drones. Eyewitnesses describe flashes of intense heat lasting 2 seconds, followed by entire crowds collapsing silently to the pavement. These aren't conventional weapons, and they're not on any public registry. I've also got video from Detroit. It was sent through a shortwave relay by a verified listener near Greektown. It shows 5 armored operators in unmarked black gear, deploying what look like crowd-herding drones. These drones emit ultrasonics at a range too high for the human ear, forcing entire groups into specific streets where other teams are already waiting. These aren't isolated incidents. This is coordinated field testing, scaled across multiple population centers. I want to pause for a second because something else just came through my terminal. About 15 minutes ago, I intercepted a packet marked Restricted, Prototype Deployment. It references a platform called Aegis MKIV. Based on the technical notes, it's a mobile suppression unit capable of neutralizing up to 100 individuals simultaneously, using layered strobing, subsonic pulses, and active neural disruption. I didn't even know technology like this existed outside labs. According to the document, 3 of these platforms are live tonight. 1 in Houston, 1 in Miami, and 1 here in Los Angeles. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're live. Eli, I'm in Koreatown, just off Western Avenue. There's a flatbed parked across the street with a weird-looking turret on it. They fired something. No sound, no flash. But everybody near it just dropped. They didn't even scream. About 30 people went down in seconds. I ran inside and locked the doors. I asked if anyone recovered afterward. No, they're just lying there. Some breathing, some not. Now a black team's walking between them, checking pulses, dragging the one still alive into trucks. I tell him to stay low, disable his lights, and stay silent until movement in the area clears. This isn't isolated to Los Angeles. In Houston, I've got security feeds from Montrose showing similar vehicles operating near main intersections. Black uniformed teams arrive, deploy a weapon, and civilians go limp before being loaded into transport vans. In Miami, incoming reports describe experimental gas dispersal systems being triggered in Brickell high-rises, sealing entire floors. Every emergency exit has been welded shut in advance, which means civilians inside are trapped when the gas floods through ducts. I've got no confirmation yet on casualty counts, but the patterns match other confirmed sweeps. Another listener feed just came in from Dallas via satellite relay. I'm watching it now. An apartment complex near Swiss Avenue. A group of 30 residents tried to form a barricade across the main entrance using furniture and parked vehicles. At 12:41 a.m., 3 unmarked trucks arrived. One operator mounted a compact device onto the hood of the lead vehicle. Within seconds, a blinding blue-white strobe pulsed 4 times, and every person behind the barricade collapsed. The trucks drove away without firing a single round. Whatever this system is, it's doing its job quietly and effectively. I need to share something else disturbing. I've been receiving targeted warnings throughout the night, but the tone just escalated. About 20 minutes ago, a message came through marked only, "Location triangulated. Prepare for shutdown." Since then, I've had 3 surveillance drones hovering within line of sight of my studio. One of them is military grade, carrying an active LiDAR sweep module. If they're mapping my position, I may not be able to stay here much longer. For now, I've killed the building's wireless uplink and switched to hardline backups to buy us time. Back to nationwide updates. In Phoenix, entire subdivisions in Maricopa County are going dark, block by block. Feeds from neighborhood security cameras show dozens of civilians fleeing across cul-de-sacs with small drones overhead tracking every heat signature. One clip shows a device projecting beams across open yards, forcing crowds into tighter formations before another black uniformed team intercepts them. It looks mechanical, planned, and entirely free of human command input. That suggests automation is playing a role in at least some of these sweeps. Taking another shortwave call now. Caller, you're live. Eli, this is Anna from Denver. We thought we were safe downtown, but these black trucks came in fast. They used some kind of sound weapon, really deep bass you could feel in your chest. Then, everyone around me froze up. My brother couldn't move. People started falling face first. I dragged him behind a dumpster, but I think they saw us. I asked if she can get out of the area. No chance. Streets are blocked. They're clearing every alley one by one. I tell her to stay hidden, stay quiet, and stay off-grid until they move past her sector. I've seen a lot tonight, but the deeper I dig into these intercepts, the clearer it becomes. This purge isn't just about sanctioned violence or resetting public order. It's about mapping the limits of civilian resistance under sustained suppression. Hundreds of thousands of devices are reporting telemetry to central servers, not just on where people are, but how fast they respond, where they hide, and what tactics fail. The data streams are massive, encrypted, and live-fed to contractors I've never even heard of. It's now 2:38 a.m. in Los Angeles. Fires continue to burn to the south. I can hear distant bursts of suppressed fire even through the studio glass, and a growing number of drones are circling downtown at low altitude. If those LiDAR-equipped units map my location completely, I may have to cut this feed and relocate. I'll hold out as long as possible, but understand, this broadcast is being monitored. If I go silent suddenly, it wasn't by choice. This is Eli Moran, still broadcasting live from downtown Los Angeles. It's now 3:26 a.m., July 13th, 2095. We're closing in on the 10th hour of the Purge, and I need to share what I've just confirmed. I've been reviewing intercepted data from multiple encrypted channels, and for the first time tonight, I have proof that foreign private military contractors are operating on U.S. soil right now, under the cover of the Purge. For the past 3 hours, my secure feeds have picked up encrypted chatter in Russian, Serbian, and French. Packet tracing shows origin pings from Dallas, Atlanta, and here in Los Angeles. The audio snippets are short, but the tone is unmistakable. ADS, structured command exchanges, authorization codes, and confirmed kill reports. One phrase repeated across multiple intercepts translates roughly to objective, secured, awaiting upload. That upload is visible in the data, entire terabytes of real-time tracking analytics routed directly into overseas servers. I've got visual confirmation too. A listener in downtown Phoenix sent in verified drone footage 30 minutes ago. It shows 3 white armored vehicles with Cyrillic lettering partially spray-painted over, rolling through Roosevelt Row. The operators exiting those vehicles aren't American law enforcement. Their gear, helmets, and rifle configurations are Eastern European military issue. The same clip shows them exchanging encrypted bursts with smaller drone relays hovering above intersections. When they identify heat clusters, they move in without hesitation, clearing entire buildings block by block. This isn't isolated. Feeds from Dallas show foreign units coordinating with unmarked black teams I reported on earlier. There's footage near the design district where a convoy of 8 SUVs blocks a main road, and operators from 2 different factions unload together. One group in full black armor, another wearing lighter desert-pattern tactical rigs. They move jointly into a residential complex, deploying crowd-controlled drones ahead of them. That's not spontaneous coordination, that's integration. Let's talk about Los Angeles. The city is fracturing into multiple overlapping conflicts right now. I've split my feeds into 4 sectors to track the situation. Sector 1, the downtown core. From Figueroa to Broadway, competing black uniform strike teams are crossing paths with organized local militias, defending high-rise complexes. Drones are mapping escape routes and marking heat signatures, forcing people into choke points where crossfire erupts on both sides. Sector 2, South Central. Reports here show multiple gangs banding together into temporary alliances, cutting off main roads like Slauson and Crenshaw, hijacking fuel tankers to create defensive perimeters. But satellite scans show another layer beneath this chaos. There are at least 6 unmarked armored carriers moving quietly between blocks, bypassing firefights entirely. Sector 3, Hollywood Hills. Several private estates are fortified with imported security teams, many of whom have heavy drone support. Civilian groups attempting to flee are being intercepted and rerouted into the valley, effectively trapping them between opposing forces. Sector 4, the Port Authority District. Long Beach is burning. Crates are being hauled out of storage yards into unmarked convoys, many with foreign tactical signatures. One feed shows pallets of electronic equipment being loaded directly into vans, while civilians scatter from active sweeps nearby. This isn't just chaos anymore. It's controlled territorial testing on a scale I didn't think possible. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're live. Eli, this is Sonia. I'm at SeaTac Airport in Seattle. I came here thinking the airport would be safe, but it's worse. Private security isn't security at all. I saw people in unmarked vests handing crates to armed groups with foreign accents. Planes are landing without lights. They're offloading cargo directly onto trucks parked on the tarmac. I ask if she can see where the trucks are heading. North. I heard one of them mention Everett. Some of the people getting off those planes aren't here to leave. They're here to fight. I tell her to leave the airport entirely. Avoid open parking decks. And keep to covered routes if possible. This lines up with what I'm seeing on global trackers. Inbound flights to U.S. Purge designated cities peaked around midnight, with almost no corresponding outbound traffic. That means hundreds of small strike groups have entered the country over the past 24 hours without leaving. TSA scanners were disabled by directive 3 hours before the purge began, and my intercepts show certain arrival gates were flagged exempt from biometric screening. That didn't happen accidentally. Those permissions were issued weeks ago. I've also been monitoring foreign language chatter from Miami's coastal perimeter. Dozens of encrypted transmissions are bouncing between small vessels just offshore. The pattern suggests maritime coordination, and eyewitness reports from Biscayne Bay confirm it. Multiple boats loaded with personnel are docking along private marinas, unloading crates into secured elevators beneath luxury towers. The units appear to be coordinating with private militias guarding high-value districts. Miami has effectively become an imported battleground tonight. Back in Los Angeles, my drones are tracking movement near the USC campus. I'm watching one of the black uniform teams setting up perimeter jammers, while 4 smaller strike elements funnel civilians into alleys where larger units are waiting. What's strange is seeing smaller contractors, mixed uniforms, foreign loadouts, flanking alongside them without conflict. In one clip, I count at least 5 different operational groups, none of them wearing official insignia, all working toward the same objective: driving civilians into defined sectors. Whether they're competing or coordinating isn't clear yet, but either outcome ends badly for anyone caught in the open. Taking another shortwave call now. Caller, you're on. Eli, this is Morgan from Houston. I watched two teams in black armor face off against a third group with desert pattern rigs. We thought they'd fight each other, but instead, they split up and started hitting opposite apartment blocks together. Whoever's running this doesn't care who's American and who's not. I ask if civilians had anywhere to escape. Not unless you count running through broken glass and crossfire. Everyone's hiding in laundry rooms and storage closets now. I tell him to stay off rooftops, avoid windows, and cut power to anything emitting wireless signals. He agrees and signs off quickly. I've been getting more direct warnings on my secure terminal. 2 messages arrived within the last half hour. Stop broadcasting. Classified material. 10 minutes later. Exit your location immediately. My studio's private uplink keeps lighting up with ping requests from unknown nodes. Some routed internationally, others domestic. Whoever's trying to find me is hitting every angle at once. Satellites, thermal sweeps, drone triangulation. I've activated my fail-safe blackout protocol, but if they push harder, I may not be able to stay here. It's now 4:12 a.m. in Los Angeles, 10 hours into the Purge, and the line between sanctioned violence and coordinated operations has disappeared completely. I'm watching live evidence of foreign operatives, private contractors, and domestic strike teams working inside U.S. cities tonight, while emergency services remain deliberately offline. Los Angeles isn't just collapsing under chaos anymore. It's being partitioned, block by block, in real time. And judging by the scale of activity nationwide, we're nowhere near the peak yet. This is Eli Moran, broadcasting live from downtown Los Angeles. It's 5:06 a.m., July 13th, 2095. We're closing in on the 12th hour of the Purge, and the situation is shifting again, not because of what's happening in the streets, but because of what I'm hearing across the airwaves. Multiple independent broadcasters on open frequencies are reporting the same rumor tonight. This purge was never meant to test morality. It isn't about releasing tension or giving people a night to act without consequence. It's a population optimization program. About 30 minutes ago, I locked onto a signal coming out of Denver. A voice identifying himself as Cal claimed he was broadcasting from an abandoned emergency management facility. He said he accessed internal FEMA archives that were never intended to go public. According to him, tonight's purge is designed to rebalance federal liability. His words, not mine. The program's targets aren't random. They're prioritizing anyone with heavy debt, prior convictions, or political activism flagged as subversive. These lists were allegedly compiled months ago from financial databases, court records, and social media profiles. Another voice broke in on the same frequency, this time from Houston, using a verified ham call sign. She claimed to be an ex-contractor for one of the logistics firms coordinating supply routes tonight. She said the black uniformed operators I've been reporting on are using selective thermal scans, filtering for biometric IDs linked to certain debt profiles and judicial records. If true, this means the sweep teams aren't hunting everyone equally. They're following preloaded target sets. I can't confirm it yet, but it matches too closely with what we've been seeing on camera feeds for the past 3 hours. Let me give you an example. In Chicago, there are at least 8 separate sweeps happening right now across the South Side. Drone telemetry shows multiple residential blocks bypassed entirely, while adjacent complexes are hit hard. Same in Philadelphia, Kensington Avenue is burning, but several buildings on the same block are untouched. Lights still on. When you overlay that against local census and municipal data, a disturbing pattern forms. The untouched sectors have above-average income, low debt ratios, and stable property ownership. The targeted blocks correlate almost perfectly with debt density. I've intercepted fragments of an encrypted DHS channel that seem to confirm this indirectly. One line stood out. Asset extraction completed. Prioritize Phase 2 optimization brackets. Asset extraction doesn't mean property. It's referring to people. I cross-referenced the timestamp with a drone feed from Miami's Little Havana district, where black uniformed teams were seen loading civilians into armored vans. None of those vans returned on traffic cams. If the vans aren't cycling back, then wherever they're going, people aren't coming back from there. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're on. Eli, this is Peter from Queens. They're running names out loud here. I heard my neighbor's name shouted before they pulled him out. He's been in debt for years. They're scanning IDs door to door, like they know exactly who they're looking for. They skipped 3 apartments completely. Went straight to him. I asked if he's still in his building. Yeah, for now. We locked the stairwell. They're 3 floors down, working their way up. Everyone's silent. No lights. No movement. I tell him to kill all wireless devices. Stay absolutely quiet and avoid windows. He whispers thanks and cuts the line immediately. I want to be clear here. We're still in rumor territory for some of this, but the sheer volume of cross-confirmations is hard to ignore. Broadcasts out of Atlanta, Dallas, and Phoenix are repeating similar findings. Credit bureau data was preloaded into something called the tiering system, assigning numerical risk scores to every household. Debt, outstanding warrants, and past protest attendance appear to weigh heavily. Tonight's Purge is removing entire clusters of high-cost individuals from financial models while selling the public a narrative about morality and choice. That framing shields the reality from direct accountability. Meanwhile, Los Angeles is deteriorating block by block. I've got thermal drone footage over South Park showing mass evacuations down Flower Street. Groups of civilians trying to flee are being forced toward the 10 freeway interchange, but both on-ramps are blocked with jackknifed semi-trailers. Multiple armored SUVs are stationed at those choke points, sweeping slowly with mounted LiDAR scanners. I watched one operator check a tablet against live returns, select a cluster of 5 individuals, and immediately fire. Everyone else in the group was left untouched. That's targeted selection in real time. Another intercepted signal from an independent operator out of New Orleans says his repeater has been flooded with inbound calls from terrified residents. He claims there are now mobile scanning towers on flatbeds rolling through the French Quarter, pulling biometric data from up to 100 yards away. Eyewitnesses described flashes of light across apartment walls, followed by operators moving directly to specific doors. It's efficient. Too efficient to be improvised. That matches confirmed visuals from Dallas, where rooftop antennas are being used to coordinate building-by-building sweeps. Let's talk about another strange data point. All night, I've been monitoring upload streams from the Black Unit operations to contractor-owned servers. About 2 hours ago, one of those streams spiked when Phoenix hit peak activity. I pulled a sample packet from the flow, and buried in the metadata was this: population behavior, stress model, V4.2. That's an internal tag for predictive modeling software. The program isn't just tracking what's happening tonight, it's learning. Every time civilians scatter, barricade, or coordinate resistance, it's feeding that response back into the system in real time. If this is accurate, the government is mapping human adaptability under duress on a national scale. And I need to mention something personal. About 20 minutes ago, another broadcaster I've been monitoring out of Philadelphia signed off abruptly mid-sentence. Before his feed went silent, he said, "They're coming up the stairwell." I haven't been able to re-establish contact since. My own secure terminal has pinged 8 times in the last hour from masked nodes trying to force a handshake. The last threatening message I received was blunt: terminate feed or be terminated. I've shut off the uplink entirely and rerouted through analog backup systems. But the drones circling my sector haven't moved in the past 15 minutes. Nationally, the scale is staggering now. Chicago's South Side looks like a grid of competing influence zones, with contractor teams cutting through apartment blocks marked red on predictive overlays. Miami's financial district is being funneled into secure corridors, while armored vans vanish into underground access tunnels beneath high-rise parking decks. In Houston, local repeater traffic confirms the deployment of active crowd control weapons across 4 neighborhoods simultaneously, dropping hundreds of people without a single recorded gunshot. Each operation aligns perfectly with municipal heat maps, showing prior arrest densities and income tiers. It's 5:52 a.m. here in Los Angeles. Sunlight hasn't broken yet, but the city is unrecognizable. Entire districts are dark, burned-out silhouettes on drone scans. Smaller neighborhoods are collapsing as organized teams push toward the downtown core. My studio's at the edge of 3 operational sectors now, and if those teams converge, this building won't stay untouched for long. If I suddenly go offline, know that I stayed until I couldn't anymore. This is Eli Moran, still on the air from downtown Los Angeles. It's 6:44 a.m., July 13th, 2095. The sun is beginning to rise over the skyline, though you wouldn't know it by looking out the window. The air is thick with smoke, black plumes cutting across every district I can see from this tower. Sirens are silent, streets are deserted, and drones hover above intersections like vultures waiting for movement. We are 12 hours and 44 minutes into the first nationwide purge, and I have confirmation now of what this night was always meant to be. Over the past 90 minutes, I pulled 3 separate intercepts from encrypted contractor servers. They leave no room for interpretation. The purge was never about morality, never about crime reduction, never about giving people release. It is a population optimization program. The language in these documents is cold and clinical. One reads, objective: reduce high-liability demographics through controlled civilian engagement. Optimize survivorship ratios toward financially stable cohorts. Another packet lists categories of priority targets: debtors above 100, 0, repeat felony offenders, parole violators, and flagged dissenters. The purge is not random. It's structured culling. The contracts I intercepted are even more damning. Signed agreements between the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and 3 private logistics firms outline civilian clearance benchmarks. For Los Angeles County alone, the target removal percentage is listed at 22% of the population. The benchmarks are similar in Chicago, Houston, and Miami. These aren't projections. These are quotas. Every armored van, every drone sweep, every black uniform strike team tonight is operating against those quotas. If a block meets its benchmark, the sweeps move on. If not, they return. Taking a shortwave call now. Caller, you're live. Eli, I'm calling from Atlanta. They're checking IDs against tablets here. If your debt shows up, you're pulled out. I saw them skip 4 people, then drag a man down the stairs. He owed on medical bills. I knew him. They shot him in the street. Nobody else on that floor was touched. I ask if she has proof. I've got video, but they're jamming signals now. I'll try to send it on analog relay if I can. Please, tell people to hide their IDs. Hide everything. The line cuts, leaving nothing but static. I've been watching live drone feeds across multiple cities, and the patterns confirm what these documents say. In New York, public housing blocks flagged as high debt density are lit red on the predictive overlays. Those blocks are the ones burning tonight. In Miami, working-class immigrant neighborhoods are being sealed with armored barricades, while wealthier districts remain untouched. In Dallas, East Oak Cliff has been stripped out street by street, while Highland Park is still glowing with power and lights. The purge isn't about equal opportunity chaos. It's about selective removal. Another document I intercepted carries the name of the contractor overseeing data collection tonight. HN, Logan, Rourke, a logistics firm with federal ties, stretching back to the prison privatization boom of the 2050s. Their servers are receiving live telemetry from every operational theater. Heart rate monitors, geotagged panic patterns, biometric collapse under stress, heart rate monitors. All of it is being harvested in real time. Their own header calls it the Behavioral Optimization Suite. The data isn't just being collected, it's being monetized. Every scream, every chase, every collapse tonight is part of a ledger. And now the threats against me are becoming impossible to ignore. Just after 6:15 a.m., my secure terminal received a direct burst packet reading. Termination authorization approved. Vacate or neutralization imminent. Since then, 3 drones have circled closer to my building, their LiDAR sweeps overlapping across my window. One passed low enough that I could see the mounted optic flash against the glass. I've switched the uplink to my last analog relay, but if they push closer, this studio will be compromised. If I go dark suddenly, you'll know why. Los Angeles is fragmenting fast. South of me, around Pico Union, I'm watching fire spread unchecked across entire blocks. Civilians are fleeing north toward Koreatown, but black uniformed teams are waiting at the intersections. To the west, near Beverly Grove, private militias are holding fortified estates, using drones to redirect fleeing groups back into hot zones. At the port, convoys are still hauling crates onto trucks, but my intercepts suggest many of those loads aren't weapons. They're servers. Stacks of drives being shipped out under armored escort. That means the data being collected tonight isn't staying in the city. It's being exported. Taking another call before I lose this channel. Caller, you're live. Eli, this is Thomas from Detroit. They're telling us this is about freedom, about people choosing violence. That's a lie. I saw a team tonight take only the ones with ankle monitors, probation tags, or old warrants. They weren't hunting everyone. They were hunting lists. I ask if he thinks it's government sanctioned. It has to be. Nobody else has access to those records. They pulled names and faces like they were grocery items. Don't let them spin this into something it's not. The line drops, leaving nothing but faint static again. I don't know how much longer I can keep broadcasting from here. The threats are getting sharper, the drones are closing in, and I can feel the building trembling every time something detonates within a few blocks. But if this is my last transmission, then let me say this clearly. The Purge was not designed to lower crime, nor to test morality. It was a population control initiative, polished with marketing language and sold as social catharsis. What it really is an algorithm made flesh. Debtors, prisoners, and dissenters are being optimized out of existence. That is the truth hidden under the noise of burning streets. It's 7:28 a.m. now. The sun is breaking through smoke over Los Angeles. From my vantage point, I can see lines of civilians moving quietly along Figueroa, some dragging bags, others with nothing but the clothes they have on. They move like shadows, careful, silent, waiting for the sound of drones to pass before stepping forward. Above them, 3 black uniformed teams patrol rooftops, rifles angled down, watching. The city isn't just burning, it's being sorted. If I have to leave this studio, I'll try to relocate the broadcast from another node. But if I don't make it, then remember what you've heard tonight. Don't let them rewrite this in the morning. Don't let them say it was chaos or choice. It was neither. It was targeted, calculated, engineered. Stay hidden. Stay silent. And if you're listening, remember this. You're not just surviving tonight. You're surviving their design. This is Eli Moran, signing off for now.